is Paul with LSP Data and now LSP Leads, focusing on roofing and other contractor leads. And really excited to sort of make this video because I've been quite busy working on a new project. Again, dealing with roofing and other type of contractor work. And yeah, I just wanted to start off with saying we don't generate leads. We identify homeowners who already need a roof, right? So we've been doing a couple of proof of concepts throughout Austin, Jacksonville, and other cities as well, working with some roofers and other contractors to help them find leads, right? Historically, we've been focusing a lot on real estate, and because we've been putting together data for a couple of years now, decided that this was a good opportunity to pivot as well, because a lot of that real estate just naturally flows towards, construction related work, right? So think about roofing, think about, siding, anything really that has to do with a property, right? So I wanted to kind of walk you through a quick pitch and talk a little bit about a use case and show you maybe a sneak peek of our platform that we're coming up with. But just since I've always liked to start off with transparency as far as our data and everything, right? Because a lot of you have become customers over the years because of these videos, right? So I like to focus a lot on education and then just make you understand, where this data comes from, how we're leveraging it. And I mean, a lot of times, if you're a small business owner or if you have the capacity, a lot of you are very techy, right? You can always, do something similar. But what I wanted to do is this, right? Kind of take a step back and just showing you how are we able to identify properties that need roofing repair, right? And for us, again, this is our bread and butter over the years, real estate data, right? A lot of the times we capture the information of the roofing age or the property age, right? Things like code violations or neighborhood complaints, that sort of information also captures a lot of the more intimate details of either the city inspector, right, flagging a lot of the conditions, right? Maybe your next door neighbor also flags it, right? Or specifically in states or cities throughout Florida or Texas, when you have a lot of sort of repeating patterns with weather, right? People will call in right away, 311, report a lot of, thunderstorms and that sort of thing that potentially damages the roof. And when you combine that with older roofs, right? And again, we take in a lot of time to understand even the types of roofs because some of the roofs require repairs every 15 to 20 years, right? And, you kind of expedite that with weather patterns and all that good information, right? And also in the past, being able to capture permit information because anytime a roofing company does work, right? You're also able to capture a lot of the times of when was there a roof repair, right? Or when was it patched, that sort of thing. And lastly as well, not only because you have a lot of code violations or anything else, that doesn't automatically translate into a homeowner wanting to pay for roof repair, right? So again, we love data. We kind of ran through a lot of scenarios, right? And one of the things that kept coming up was the idea that they need to be able to afford it, right? If they're not leveraging insurance. But again, this was a big eye-opening for me because in the past, when we think about opportunities for real estate, yes, sometimes there is good opportunities, especially in lower socioeconomic areas, right? But when it comes to actually addressing a lot of the code violations, right? Sometimes people may not have the funding to actually try, pay someone and repair, right? So anyways, all that to say that we're combining a lot of that information, right? And again, because of AI, and again, I don't like to sensationalize and say that AI solves everything, right? You look at my past videos, we will show you how we're using it, right? In this case, we're using a DeepSeek reasoning model, right? And if that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it, right? I'll make other videos on sort of drilling down on the how-tos, right? But for now, just keep it very generic, AI predictions. And most importantly, what I want to do is help you as the roofing contractor, right? Or the salesperson, right? To allow you to go, and if you're doing door knocking, to help you find those properties, better. So saves you time, gas, right? But it keeps you focused. And again, not only because if there's a code violation, that doesn't automatically mean that people are wanting to replace a roof, right? But there's other criterias that we're taking into consideration to provide you with those leads, right? So I'll take a step back. I'll focus a bit on Tampa, Florida, right? So just running through a lot of the numbers of past roofing jobs that have been performed, right? And associating that with our historical code violation data or complaint data, right? A lot of times, things like tarpon roof are good indicators that obviously a roof needs repair, right? There's a lot of things of structural, like leaking, right? There's mold and that sort of thing, right? Those tend to yield to pretty good, contracting work and up to 25,000, right? And there are a lot also properties that tend to be abandoned. Maybe there's a person that owns them in a different state. But anyways, so a lot of times again we can get down to the data, right, in terms of zip code and whatnot, right? And that's another thing I wanted to touch on. A service, we're trying to focus a lot on zip codes, right? So that way we're able to work directly with you, with your company, and focus on specific zip codes to provide you constant leads, right? And so again, some of those sort of what we call trigger profiles. A lot of it is the tarpon roof, structure violations. There's decays, right? And active leaks and mold. A lot of times those get reported by the tenants. Again, let's jump straight into the platform. So just to give you an idea, this is what we're calling LSP Leads, right? Currently, this is the way that it's meant to work. You would sign up for a zip code or a list of zip codes, and you would get a view that looks similar to this. So for us, again, the visual aspect is really important for us because if you have a team of door knockers, right? Just like when you're driving for dollars in the real estate world, you're probably driving and sort of, unless you already have a job, you're going around door knocking, right? And for those couple of customers that we work with, a lot of good feedback, right? So for me, I've learned quite a bit in this, and I wanted to make it easy, as simple as for you every morning going and identifying, properties that are around the same area, and that way you can just focus on those, right? So in this case, a couple of them here. As you can see, some are fairly recent. And so we're trying to make it as simple as that. And if we take a look at the areas, sometimes, as you know, Google Maps may be up to date or may not be up to date with their images, but we're not relying on those images here. I just wanted to kind of show you that sometimes it's interesting that you start seeing the how bad the roof may be, right? Some of them, like this is from December 2025, right? So there's an active violations happening there, right? The roof needs, this is from 2023, so probably won't be much views, but you can still see that there are some damages there, right? And probably over time it got worse as well, right? So point here is that, as you can see, there's another one, right? Over time, that creates issues, as you know, and that leads to violations, and that leads to the city putting pressure on you and that kind of information, right? But I wanted to make it as simple as that. And again, there's a couple of filters here that you can do. My intention is here is, again, on a daily basis, you log in, there may be leads or potential leads, as we're calling them, right? And if we click on any individual one here, you'll see the information about this property, right? And one of the things is, again, this was built in this year. We're trying to provide you as much information as we can. The other thing too is we're focusing on zip code, medium income, right? That sort of thing, because again, based on our observation, we realize that, not everyone has the incentive to replace it, right? To replace the roof. So part of our sort of algorithm of identifying leads is that we're taking into consideration, can the homeowner potentially afford a roofing job, right? And based on the, of our data and whatnot, we believe that a lot of the potential leads here are good opportunities for you and your team to go and door knock and, close on those deals, right? Again, part of this is for us to help you identify those properties quicker. And if you do have a sales team or if you have door knockers, right, send them to specific locations. I'll jump a little bit. I'll step back a bit, but I want to show you. I'm gonna scroll down here. As you can see, this is as early as May 2026, right? So in this case, I wanted to show you some examples of some that, they're higher in our score, right? And it's beautiful to be able to validate that, right? And based on our data, right? A lot of times, again, we've been collecting data for years, and it's nice because even for our virtual driving for dollars, sometimes we can capture these pictures that someone took. So in the future, I want to also include those features here, right? But in general, if you're a general contractor, right, and you're interested in our service, the way that this will work is that you would choose 1 or 2 zip codes depending on the price point that you're willing to pay. And again, in the next couple of weeks, you'll see more videos and I'll touch more about, how does that work? But, you would sign up for a 1 or 2 or up to 5 zip codes. And the intent there would be that you get to see before you sign up how many potential opportunities there are, right? And it's up to you. Try them out, right? The other thing as well, if you're doing mailers or if you're doing things like, let's say you are cold calling them as well, you can also just easily export them, right? As you can see, we have our own sort of lead score as well here. I'm not going to share too much information here, but as you can see, there are, what we're trying to do is just make it easy on you to get a hold of the property owner. And again, this is properties that need repair, right? This is not potential. Do they need repair, right? The potential is, can you close on the deal? Are you strong enough with your sales, right? Sales skills, right? But we're giving you properties that require, need or maintenance or, whatever you want to call it. And again, I'm going to step back a little bit. I've exported a lot of the data in the past to be able to kind of flag, use cases, right? And so looking at the last couple of years of Tampa roof repairs, right? I did something a bit lazy, right? I went to Gemini. I uploaded the entire report of the past Tampa roofing jobs, right? And it's interesting that it flagged a couple of use cases. Again, some of you may be focusing on small time jobs, right? For single family, right? But it's interesting how there's a lot of properties that are worth quite a bit. And some of those projects are a lot of money. And this is something new for me as well, that which is another reason why I want to also focus on leads for construction, because there, as you know, many of you are probably doing really good money as well. So my intention is just to help you land those, even if it's just 3 to 5 weekly deals, right? Let us help you in the future be able to also estimate the job. So that way you're getting $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 jobs, right? Besides the ones you're already doing. Another thing that I wanted to focus on as well is, just a quick reminder. The purpose of our service is that you get to pick an area, in this case a zip code. Those potential leads are all yours exclusively, right? I know a lot of times, there are other services, they share your leads. And most of the times you're just paying for low quality leads, or, it depends. So again, I'm hearing a lot from customers and people that are interested in this. And right now there's I get to hear their pain points, and some of the things that we're trying to do different is, address those pain points for them. But the intent is that you get exclusive leads, so you own those zip codes for yourself, right? All right, so the other thing I wanted to do is this. We can also, I hid this information because there's emails and phones, right? But because of the permit data that I mentioned before, I can also see if you're an existing roofing business, right? The other thing I wanted to do was be able to speak your own language. So say, hey, you know what? We can help you. We notice that you focus on this specific zip codes, right? This is the potential leads for this service. And we know that you focus on this one because of past work that you've done here, right? And we can kind of get an idea of how much you're bringing in, which is really good. And a lot of you are doing pretty good. Like, at least this is in the Tampa market. But that's the level of details that we're trying to, that we're utilizing, right? To see past work information, to see how much the jobs were, right? And this in the future, I want to use this to estimate future jobs, because if you're focusing on a certain zip code, if you're focusing on specific square footage, similar house built, home built, right? Then for us, we can leverage things like AI or even just simple formulas to say, hey, if you are able to close on this deal, this may be a potential $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 work, right? The other bit too, like I mentioned earlier, because we have access to historical data, that's how we came up with this potential lead score, right? So a lot of it is, are there any violations? Historical violations, how much is there in that zip code medium household income, right? Are they able to afford it, right? Have they done past work that leads to that conclusion, right? So there's a lot of sort of criterias that I put into this, right? And again, like I mentioned, not only from the code violations, but from complaints and other indicators that may help here, right? And I'll go back to the AI, because everyone thinks AI is ChatGPT or Gemini, right? I run this models locally. So again, we're using DeepSeek to process thousands of information, right? Basically, something that looks like this, right? One of the things that I want to do in the future is, I used to work in construction when in my younger years, but I know a lot of times if we're doing insulation, a lot of times someone who does siding, someone who does plumbing, right? So what I wanted to do as well is expand this beyond roofing, because a lot of the code violations have to do with multiple things. I figure, you know what? I want to build some logic for an AI to analyze all of that and come up with a simple, is this a roofing opportunity? Yes. What other opportunity can there be there, right? Can there be plumbing, electrical, drywall, right? So process all that good stuff. Now I get something like this. So in this case, prop information of properties that have a roofing as a primary thing, but maybe secondary could be someone doing the gutters or HVAC, right? Painting or foundational work, right? So all of that is things that I also want to in the future include. So that way, if you are a roofer, but maybe you also own a company that's HVAC, or maybe you can pass that job to someone that friend or someone else. Maybe you can get a little bit of an affiliate money, right? But anyways, I know how that world works, and this would be a really good way for you to not only get those jobs for yourself for the roofing, but also be able to identify other potential upsell opportunities, right? If it's not for you, then maybe for your friends or business partners, right? That sort of thing. But the beautiful thing here, again, because the reasoning, when I say reasoning, we're processing a lot of information. So in this case, they mentioned roof covering issues, windows, doors, and requiring repair, right? Holes, cracks, worn surfaces. So this is the next level of leveraging, like I said, AI or this reasoning models to process all that information and say, hey, Well, based on the conditions of the property and things that have been flagged from the code violation inspectors, from past permit data, that sort of thing, right? These are even potential opportunities if you have other, if you offer other services for or secondary trades, right? And again, sometimes the kind of tune this down a little bit to also pick up things like urgency, to pick up things like severity, right? Because sometimes you may have a property that went through, let's say, a tornado, right? So it may be a complete tear down, etc., right? Versus sometimes there may just be a blue tarp or holes in the roof or basic leakage, right, being reported by the tenant. So anyways, quite a bit of a lengthy video, but again, keeping it short, what we're doing is we're trying to bring you potential leads based on true verified data of properties that have some sort that that need attention, right? So again, for us, if we can save you time and money and gas, right? Or if you're a sales roofing person, right, this would be perfect for you. And again, the intention here is to just get in touch with the homeowner, right? It's not about whether I guess what I'm saying is that the property needs repair, right? And the homeowner potentially does have funding to close on these deals. But again, boils down to you, to your sales skills, that all that good stuff. Also in the future, the next level is for us to be able to also provide you with verified leads. So we're working also in for cold callers or mailers or other methods that we can also capture those opportunities for yourself. But that's probably going to be a more premium service in the near future. But for now, yeah, very excited. Quickly, right now, Tampa, Orlando, Miami-Dade, Jacksonville in Florida, Houston, Texas, and Austin, and Atlanta, Georgia. So stay tuned for more. And if there's any cities that you are interested in us touching or any states, just add it as part of the comments. Or just stay tuned for further videos. And thanks for watching.